The security guard looked uncomfortable as he watched me pack my office. "I'm sorry, Ms. Parker," he said, shifting from foot to foot. "Miss Catherine insisted we supervise." I carefully placed my framed computer science degree into a cardboard box, fighting to keep my expression neutral. "It's fine, Joe, just doing your job." Catherine, my sister, now apparently my ex-boss, had always had a flair for the dramatic. Of course she'd make this as humiliating as possible. "My name is Samantha Parker, and at 34, I'd just been legally outmaneuvered from the tech company I'd built from scratch. Parker Tech had been my dream since college, a cybersecurity firm that had grown from my laptop in a garage to a 200-employee operation worth millions. But I'd made one crucial mistake, trusting my sister when she offered to handle the legal side of things. "Don't forget to turn in your access card," Catherine's voice rang out from the doorway. She stood there in her perfectly tailored suit, every blonde hair in place, looking exactly like the corporate lawyer she'd become. "We wouldn't want any unauthorized access to company systems." I bit back a laugh, if she only knew. "Here," I said, unpinning my ID badge and holding it out. "Anything else you need to supervise personally?" Her smile was cold. "Just making sure everything transitions smoothly. The board is very excited about the company's new direction." The board, handpicked by Catherine over the past year, gradually filled with her law school friends and business connections. I should have seen it coming, but I've been too busy actually running the company, developing our breakthrough encryption software. "You won't be able to run it," I said quietly so only she could hear. "You don't understand the technology, the development process. That's what employees are for," she cut me off. "Besides, I understand the most important thing, how to make money. Which is more than I can say for you and your endless research projects." She was right about one thing. I prioritize development over profits, focusing on creating something revolutionary rather than just commercially viable. Our new quantum-resistant encryption protocol had eaten up millions in research funds, but it was almost ready. Almost perfect. Almost, but not quite. I picked up my box and walked toward the door. Catherine's voice stopped me. "Oh, and Sam, Dad wanted me to remind you that his offer still stands. There's always room for another lawyer in the family firm." That was the final twist of the knife. She knew how much I'd disappointed our father by choosing computer science over law school. Now she'd proven him right about which path led to real success. Or so she thought. Later that evening, I sat in my apartment, surrounded by screens showing lines of code. My phone buzzed. A message from David Chen, my lead developer. "Team meeting set for tomorrow. Off-site location. Everyone who matters is in." Good. At least my actual team understood what was happening. I opened my laptop, not the corporate one I'd surrendered, but my personal machine, and began typing. Deep within Parker Tech's systems, buried in millions of lines of code, was something Catherine and her board would never find. Not until it was too late. The quantum encryption protocol hadn't been perfect when Catherine made her move. In fact, it had a very specific flaw. One that only I knew how to fix. A flaw that would become apparent at exactly the right moment. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Marcus Zhang, our head of operations. "Kate just announced new leadership team. All corporate lawyers, no tech background. She's killing R&D department next week." Exactly as I predicted. Catherine saw our research division as a money pit, not realizing it was the heart of what made Parker Tech valuable. She'd replace innovation with litigation, patents with lawsuits. I typed a brief response. "Stick to the plan. Keep everything documented." The next morning, I met my core team at a small coffee shop across town. 20 people, developers, researchers, the ones who built Parker Tech's technology from the ground up, sat waiting for me. First, I began, "Thank you for coming. I know Catherine's been making threats about non-compete agreements. Those won't hold up," Lisa, our HR director, who'd quit the moment I was pushed out, interjected. "Not with the documentation we have about how the takeover happened." I nodded. "True, but that's not why we're here." "David, show them." David opened his laptop, displaying a series of code repositories. Everything we'd been working on for the past year, the quantum encryption protocol, the neural network security system, all of it has been properly backed up and documented, including all the development logs showing who actually created these systems. But the company owns the intellectual property, Tom, one of our senior developers, pointed out. Catherine made sure of that. I smiled. The company owns what they think is complete, working software. What they actually have is a version with a very specific vulnerability, one that only becomes apparent when you try to implement it at scale. Understanding dawned on their faces. Mark, our head of testing, let out a low whistle. The beta version. You never uploaded the final fixes. Because I knew this was coming, I confirmed. Catherine spent a year positioning herself to take control, but I spent that same year preparing for exactly this scenario. I pulled out a stack of papers and corporation documents for a new company. Welcome to Quantum Security Solutions. We're small, we're independent, and we're about to revolutionize cybersecurity. Who's in? Every hand in the room went up. Over the next few weeks, we worked in secret, setting up our new operation while watching Catherine systematically dismantle everything we built at Parker Tech. She brought in corporate lawyers to run development teams, focused on patent litigation instead of innovation. The press releases were glowing. Parker Tech announces new direction under dynamic leadership. The stock price even went up initially as Catherine promised increased profits through aggressive market positioning. Then came the day I'd been waiting for. Sam, David called from his workstation in our small new office. They're trying to implement the encryption protocol for their first major client. I moved to watch over his shoulder as error messages began flooding Parker Tech's internal systems. The flaw I'd left in the code, elegant, subtle, but catastrophic at scale, was emerging exactly as designed. My phone lit up with a text from Lisa, who still had friends inside Parker Tech. Complete chaos. Systems rejecting all security certificates. Keys losing it. I could picture it. Catherine in her perfect suit, facing angry clients and board members, trying to explain why their revolutionary security system was collapsing. She blamed the development team she'd fired, the research she'd defunded, everyone but her stuff. But the best part was still to come. Catherine's call came exactly 3 hours after Parker Tech's systems began failing. I let it go to voicemail, listening as her carefully controlled voice cracked with panic. Samantha, if you're behind this, I swear to God. The board is threatening to sue. Our biggest client is talking about criminal charges. Fix this, now. I waited another hour before responding, just long enough for the first news stories to break. Parker Tech's security system fails major implementation test. The company's stock was already dropping. When I finally called back, Catherine answered on the first ring. What did you do? She demanded. Me? Nothing. I've been busy starting my new company. How's the encryption protocol working out? Don't play games, she snapped. Every system is failing. The code, something's wrong with it. Of course something's wrong with it, I said calmly. It's not finished. The version you have is a beta build with a critical vulnerability. The finished version with the fix, that's proprietary technology belonging to Quantum Security Solutions. The silence on the other end was deafening. You see, Catherine, I continued, while you were busy with your legal maneuvers, I was documenting everything. Every development step, every test, every improvement, including the final fixes that make the system actually work. All properly dated, signed, and witnessed. That's impossible, she whispered. The company owns all the IP. The company owns what was in its systems when you took over. The critical updates that make it functional? Those were developed independently after you pushed me out. And before you try claiming otherwise, I have timestamps, blockchain verification, and witness statements from the entire development team. I could practically hear her mind racing, looking for a legal loophole. The non-compete agreements are void due to the hostile takeover, I finished. Your own actions invalidated them. You might want to consult a lawyer about that. Oh wait, you are one. Later that day, Parker Tech's board called an emergency meeting. Catherine tried to blame the system failure on sabotage, on disgruntled employees, on anything but her own actions. But the evidence was clear. The version of the encryption protocol they owned simply didn't work without the updates. Updates that now belong to my new company. Updates that their entire business model depended on. The next week was chaos. Parker Tech's stock plummeted as clients began pulling out. The board members Catherine had so carefully cultivated turned on her, realizing their legal backgrounds hadn't prepared them to handle a technical crisis. Then came the offer I'd been waiting for. Miss Parker, The call came from James Martinez, Parker Tech's largest investor. We need to talk about acquiring quantum security solutions. I smiled. I'm not interested in selling. Name your price, he pressed. Parker Tech needs those updates. No, I said firmly. What Parker Tech needs is new leadership. Someone who understands that technology companies should be run by people who understand technology. There was a long pause. You want your company back. On my terms, complete control of technical development, a board that includes actual tech experts. And Catherine? She needs to go. The negotiations took 2 weeks. In the end, Parker Tech's board had no choice. Their company was worthless without the encryption protocol updates, and their shareholders were demanding action. The day I walked back into my old office, Catherine was waiting. She'd lost her polished look. Her hair was messy, her expensive suit wrinkled. You planned this, she said. All of it. I learned from you, I replied. You taught me that sometimes you have to think like a lawyer, document everything, prepare for the worst, protect your interests. I just applied those lessons to technology instead of legal proceedings. She laughed bitterly. Dad was right about one thing. You would have made a hell of a lawyer. Maybe, but I prefer building things to tearing them down. The reconstruction of Parker Tech took months. We merged it with Quantum Security Solutions, rebuilding the development team and implementing the complete encryption protocol properly this time. Catherine moved to California, taking a position with a corporate law firm. She never apologized, but she did send me a message when our quantum encryption system won a major industry award. Congratulations, you proved me wrong about everything. Even lawyers can admit when they've lost. The framed computer science degree went back on my office wall, now joined by patents and awards that proved technical innovation could be more powerful than legal manipulation. Dad even called to say he was proud, though he still mentioned that the family law firm had an opening if I ever changed my mind. I kept the beta version of the encryption protocol, the one with the elegant flaw, framed in my office as a reminder. Sometimes the best defense isn't in the code you write, but in the code you don't write. And sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying your enemies, but about building something they can't touch. 1 year after the takeover attempt, I stood in Parker Tech's new research lab, watching my team work on our next breakthrough. The quantum encryption protocol had revolutionized cybersecurity just as I'd known it would. But more importantly, it had proven that technical excellence, not legal maneuvering, was the true path to success. Catherine's nameplate from her brief tenure as CEO sat in my desk drawer, not as a trophy, but as a reminder that power based on manipulation is always vulnerable to truth and competence. The company she tried to steal had become something greater than either of us had imagined, precisely because her actions have forced me to protect and perfect our technology in ways I might never have considered otherwise. Sometimes I realize the people who try to destroy you end up making you stronger. Not because of what they do, but because of how you choose to respond. That's the thing about technology. In the end, it doesn't care about legal documents or corporate maneuvers. It only cares about whether it works. And making things work, that's what I do best.